Baz Palov says, thoughts on Supergiant's success with Hades' early access model. Do you think this model will be more prevalent in the industry? Seems like it minimizes risk and provides valuable feedback in early stages, but doesn't hurt the artistic vision.
I mean, I think it's great that their game was so successful. I don't care that much about business models in the sense that if I spend most of my time, like spending a lot of time thinking about business models is what most game companies do. And if I want to be different from that, I probably shouldn't do that, right? Also, my idea of an artistic process is probably very different from theirs. And I just don't really do feedback that much, honestly. Like I use feedback um, as a reality check, right? So like we might go play test a game somewhere and we see, does the game work? Um, does, does it, uh, like if there are things that we thought were going to be good, did people get it, get some kind of reasonable response from them, you know? But what we don't do is what playtesting typically is, which is have people answer some questions about what they like the most and put more of that in and what didn't they like and then change those things or cut them out. I mean, even if a lot of people don't like something in one of my games, if it's the right thing for that game, it's in the game, you know? It's a very different thing. So, but that's just a different way of development than what Supergiant does. That's fine. That's why you want a lot of different developers in the world, is because they can do different things different ways and there's variety. So um, early access also, I think it's better for some kinds of games than others, right? A game with a lot of replayability, like something like Hades, early access makes sense because when you play the better version later, you're like, oh, cool, right? I'm playing the better. If you do a single player puzzle game, like the last couple that we've done, if you play the bad version initially, you can't replay it later because you know how everything goes. So you just played the bad version, right? And then, so you're giving your most enthusiastic people the bad version of the game, and it's just not good for that kind of a thing.
How does, so the side question just for me, how does playtesting work? Do you get your family and friends to do it? Is there a company that playtests and you just put your game there? How is it that people don't break the NDAs? Because the NDAs are broken all the time, but
Oh yeah,
I rarely hear. But I don't follow game rumors, but I rarely
yeah.
hear about what's happening in Grand Theft Auto 6, for example, or some other major
Well,
releases.
like I
So
just
how does
said,
that work?
we don't play test that much, like way less than most development studios. We will play test this next game probably more than previous games, but that's because it's so big and like we just need to do that to detect problems. Um, the way that we have play tested in the past was sort of in the beginning, you just have a small number of people that you know, like friends who are maybe other game developers or something, play it just because you just want to see how it works just in the beginning, right? It's not refined. It doesn't have all the polish. Like it probably doesn't even have good art, visual art for most of it. So you don't even expect, like even if your design is correct and all that, and even if the parameters are all tuned, you wouldn't expect the same final response that you would get from the finished game because it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good, and all these things, right? So you're looking for a different thing early on. Um, Later, it's more about testing the final thing to make sure if it's polished and make sure weird things don't happen when people go into some corner that you never walked into that way and whatever. Now, for that kind of thing, there are also like QA, right? Quality assurance houses, which is kind of like playtesting, but it's different. Like playtesting is like, hey, you play it kind of the way a player would. QA is like, it's their job to just try and break the game all day for weeks or months, right? And that's a very useful service, but it's very different from like playtesting. But we do engage that in some way on every game as well.